Hello?
Hello.
Are we here?
And welcome
to Nightmare Nation, we think.
Nightmare Nation.
It's, I think it's the podcast where we talk about haunted places around the world.
And scary things.
And demons.
Ghosts.
Witches.
Seances.
Maybe cults.
Serial killers.
Every once in a while, like a weird unsolved mystery or interesting thing, sort of borderline true crime, but you know, whatever is sort of scary and keeps you up at night. I think, though. I'm not really sure.
Maybe UFOs as well.
I might be Annie.
I'm probably Anna.
What is this intro? I don't know what happened.
We have to keep you guessing sometimes. We can't always have the happy, upbeat intro every week.
We gotta, like, shake things up.
We gotta shake it up.
And, like, element of mystery.
Yeah.
It's what keeps you coming back for more.
Exactly.
Right.
And just the craziness that you get from us.
Also, if you were confused by that, it's only, like, a fraction of how confused I am every day of my life.
Yes.
And especially when we sit down to record.
Exactly.
So,
because I sit down, I'm like, what are we talking about?
What?
What are we
doing?
doing?
Did we talk about this one already? Did I say that 10 seconds ago? I can't remember.
What am I saying? Are words actually coming out of my mouth?
Is this words? Is this real life? Is this the real life? Is it just fantasy?
Caught in a landslide.
No escape from reality?
Open your eyes.
Look up to the skies?
And see.
See! So that was our spoken word rendition of Bohemian Rhapsody.
That's what you get today?
Yeah, I don't know. Eventually, we might get to some actual, like, scary things, but maybe. I feel like we gotta work our way through the weird bullshit intro first.
I feel like there's so much that we need to talk about because, one, we haven't seen each other in probably, like, 2 weeks now.
Oh my god, you guys, it feels like it's been 100 years.
It really has. When did we record?
I mean, before 4th of July?
Holy
right?
Fuck.
Yeah, we took 4th of July week off. Thanks, everyone, for being patient. Yeah, it's been a hot minute, and here we are, and it's literally a hot minute right now because we're sweating to death in my closet.
I'm so hot right now.
It's a little warm. We didn't have the air conditioning on today because the breeze was nice, and now we're upstairs in my closet with the door closed for better acoustics. You're welcome.
You're welcome.
And we're just melting. So.
It's so warm.
Yeah.
We're recording at Annie's because I am officially back to work now after not being back at work for over a year.
How's that treating you?
It wasn't terrible today. It went by pretty quick just because I've been super busy.
Were other people in the office with you?
Oh, yeah.
That's nice.
Oh, yeah, because everybody has to be back at least 2 to 3 times a week, so...
Okay.
There are a bunch of different people there.
Yeah, and I know you like your coworkers, so that's good.
So, I'm dressed up in dress pants, sitting on the floor, looking nice. Annie looks fucking comfortable as shit.
I'm wearing
so jealous.
loosey-goosey, very comfortable shorts.
I want some loosey-goosey shorts on.
Not at all professional looking, because I did not go into the office today.
I've got my makeup on. My hair is washed today. Like,
wow.
Who am I?
You're like a real person again.
Seriously, it's weird.
That is weird.
I'm not looking out of my house by 6:30 this morning.
That's so early.
It was disgusting. I was up at 4.
Oh my god.
I worked out.
Well, one thing that we always do regularly is talk about, like, horror movies that we've seen.
Yeah.
Have you watched any?
Yeah.
Oh my god, tell me about it.
Truth or Dare.
Oh.
On Netflix.
Okay. I have to ask, like, which one? There's literally, like, 4, and they all have the same name, and they were all done between, like, 2013 and 2018.
It was one with a group of kids that go to this house for a Halloween night, and they think it's going to be soup's fun.
Is there, like,
the house talks back to you and gives you truth or dares that you gotta do.
Is there a girl that has to drink, like, a bottle of bleach or something in the opening sequence?
She has to dump acid on her head.
That's what I'm thinking
and
of.
And she coats her head in baking soda with water to help dilute the acid.
But it doesn't work.
It does.
It does? Does she live?
Yeah.
Oh.
Spoiler alert, later on in the movie, they go back to her and, like, half of her face had melted a little bit because it still got through, but she survived.
Oh, and there's, like, a TV that's, like, fuzzy.
Yeah, the TV talks to you, and that's your countdown.
Yeah. Okay, I've seen this one. I remember.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Maddie wanted to watch it, so we watched it.
I can't believe this girl, like...
It was so funny, though, watching her. She's like, well, who do you think is going to die next? I think this girl is going to die because they have to chop off her foot.
She's in 4th grade!
Who do you think died at the end? Because you hear a gasp and you don't know who it is. And she's like, well, this part is just ridiculous because this and this. I'm like...
What is this child?
You are your father.
Also...
So...
like... I just, like, I'm putting myself in my 4th grader shoes, and I texted you this when you texted me about Maddie wanting to watch this movie. I'm like, when I was in 4th grade, I saw The Ring for the first time.
No, she wanted to watch The Strangers.
Well, I know, but like,
yeah,
I saw, like, that was my first ever horror movies. I saw The Ring, and I slept on my parents' floor for a month. A month, because I was 9, and that's what you do when you watch a scary movie and you're 9. You get scared, and she's just like, can I watch all of the horror movies ever? Can I be Annabelle for Halloween? Can I watch The Strangers? I'm sorry, we saw The Strangers when we were in high school.
Yeah, and that was the first scary movie I ever screamed in.
Just about shat my pants.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It was ridiculous.
She is, like, our spirit animal in the body of a 4th grader.
Yep.
I don't understand.
She's just perfect.
It's amazing.
It's just the greatest.
That's Anna's stepdaughter, by the way, if you didn't know.
My cute little babes.
I can't believe it. I love it. So did you like the movie?
It was a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the concept of it was pretty cool.
I mean, there's like 3 of them. And when you Google them, you have to, like, specify the year in which they were made, because otherwise IMDb is like, which one? There's 4. Like,
what do you want?
Yeah. Have you seen Would You Rather? Also a horror movie?
I don't think we've seen that one yet. I've gone past it on Netflix, I believe.
Well, it's so funny because they're like taking all of these like games you play when you're like middle school and like turning them into horror movies, and like, what is happening? But it's the same concept. It's like, would you rather cut off your finger or stab out your eyeball? And you're like, oh, okay.
None of them.
I don't really like those. Or like, would you rather kill the person next to you or set yourself on fire? It's just like the most ridiculous.
Lord.
And like, of course, the things that they have to choose between like escalate in nature throughout the movie.
Of course.
But it has Brittany Snow in it.
Why does that name sound familiar?
She is in Pitch Perfect. She's Chloe.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
But I also, the first movie I ever saw her in was Prom Night, because she's the blonde in Prom Night who's like targeted by the creepy serial killer or whatever. So like her first couple of movies were like scream, like slasher flicks, which is funny.
She goes to Pitch Perfect.
Yeah, so.
There was another one I saw. The Woman in the Window.
Oh,
this
with
one.
Amy Adams?
Yeah.
Yes. Great movie.
So good.
And
I finally watched it. I was like, oh my God, I don't know what's going on. I don't know who to believe.
Yep.
My mind is just playing tricks on me, and it's playing tricks on her, and I don't know what to believe.
Well, because she's also like an alcoholic, and she's like taking drugs, right? Or something.
No,
right?
she's got a mental disorder.
Right.
And so she's taking, like, antipsychotics, but she's
wasn't she also
drinking while taking the antipsychotics.
Yeah.
And so the police thought that she was just essentially delusional and hallucinating about things, but in reality, she actually wasn't.
Yeah, I love movies with an unreliable narrator where you're, like, not quite sure, like, what is reality. And Amy Adams...
Did it perfect.
Amy Adams is so phenomenal as an actress, too. Like, she... was playing this, like, very frumpy, like, no makeup.
When I saw her, I was like, is this Amy?
She looks...
Is this her?
15 years older than she actually is. She has this, like, frumpy, middle-aged woman look. She's, like... It just... Her ability to, like, adapt to these different characters. And, like, she was in Enchanted. She's the ditzy, like, sing-song Disney princess in Enchanted. And then she's, like, this frumpy, mentally ill, like, alcoholic woman.
And she played it so
perfectly.
Well.
Perfectly. Oh. The Woman in the Window was, like, to me, sort of a mix of, like, Disturbia, right? Because, like, someone who's kind of, like, inside watching the neighbors and seeing things and isn't sure what reality is. And I forget the other thing I was going to compare it to. But it reminded me a lot of Disturbia, which I love that movie.
That's my
It.
favorite. I saw that so many times.
We saw Things Seen and Heard, which I feel like wasn't really a horror movie. It was kind of like a scary drama sort of situation. It was sort of like a psychological thriller almost, where it's this woman who like moves to like some small town in upstate New York with her husband who's teaching art at the school, and she's slowly throughout the course of this movie like discovering that her house is haunted and there's this like female spirit that's haunting her, but she learns that the ghost is trying to help her because the ghost was, like, spoiler alert, like murdered by her husband in the home, and she's trying to warn the main character that her husband is, like, basically a freaking lunatic. He's psychotic. He's, like, cheating on her, and he's stolen, like, his cousin's identity, basically. And, like, another spoiler, we learn at the end of the movie that he actually killed his cousin because he wanted his boat. And his cousin also happened to be a talented artist, and so he stole all of his cousin's art and pretended like he had done it, and that's how he got this job as this, like, fancy art professor at this school. And he's, like, an absolute psychopath. And so this whole movie, she's like learning more and more about her crazy husband, and then the ghosts are like scary, but then you realize they're trying to help her, and it was kind of interesting.
That's
I liked
intense.
it. Yeah.
Sounds good, though.
I always like a horror movie where it turns out like the real evil is human and the ghosts are actually on your side. It's like, I love it. It's such a good twist.
So good.
So twisty.
Such twisty.
It's
the
not.
twistiest.
Yes, the twistiest. It's like a good old spiral.
Whole spiral action. It's perfect.
So, should we talk about the actual topic of the episode? Maybe? It's about that time? I love this stuff, and it makes me think of when we talked about the, so this sort of reminded me of the Red Onion Saloon that we talked about in, like, Alaska. I just love, like, old-timey brothel stuff and, like, the history of how that all happened. And that's what we're talking about tonight is a historic brothel that was also referred to as a hotel, but I don't think it's actually a hotel. It's like a museum. I don't think
so.
you can stay there.
No. But what was weird to me is how long it was open for.
Yes, I will talk about that a little bit.
I was like, oh my gosh.
I mean, it was like not strictly legal for a while.
No.
So we're talking about I'm assuming it's Dumas.
Sure.
That's how I've always seen that. It's
go with it.
Dumas. It could be
Dumas.
Dumbass. I don't know.
Dumbass.
The Dumbass Hotel.
Dumas.
I'm assuming it's Dumas. My sources were Wikipedia. And let me tell you a little bit how it came to be.
Tell me how it came to be.
Because it's a really, really interesting history, and I find this stuff fascinating. Maybe you guys don't, but if you don't, then just quit listening.
Yeah.
Otherwise, stick around.
Yeah.
So, in the 1870s,
Jesus.
It's old. In the 1870s, a group of women called the Ladies of the Line began selling their sexual services on Park Street in the North City of Butte, Montana.
Good old Butte.
So we're out west. When the tents and shacks on the street were replaced with legitimate businesses some years later, the Park Street Girls, as they had come to be known, moved to the south of the city. By the mid-1880s, a variety of dance halls, gambling houses, and saloons had appeared. So, of course, when all that other, like, shenaniganizing is going on, like...
I can't even say that right.
Shenaniganizing.
Shenaniganizing.
Almost.
We're just gonna leave that up to you.
Super close.
I tried.
Yeah. So
I like that word.
All that other stuff going on, you like go to the casino, you have like a couple drinks, and you lose all your money, and you're like, shit, I need to go get laid. So they go get laid, and there's there's ladies of Park Street hanging out for you. So then by 1888, Butte's East Galena Street was lined with brothels. In fact, nearly every building on the entire street housed prostitutes.
Oh my gosh.
It was like literally red light district where every building was a whorehouse.
Good Lord.
Essentially. Yeah, it was intense.
Diseases galore. Here we go.
Surprisingly, that didn't really come up all that much in the history, which
Really?
I have to imagine had to have been an issue. But
Oh, God, yeah.
maybe those diseases weren't like in that community because people were so like, I don't know. You didn't just like hop on an airplane and like go to Seattle and then like spread your disease in Seattle. It's like everyone was so like separated from each other, but. So the area of Galena Street would actually come to be known as the Twilight Zone.
Oh,
you're welcome. That show's name is forever ruined. But more important than any of those establishments was the Casino Theater, which was a mix of a saloon, dance hall, and brothel. So by the late 19th century, several prominent Montanans owned brothels in Butte, including Lee Mantle, who would go on to be a United States Senator.
Oh.
And Anton M. Holter, who was a wealthy businessman from Helena, Montana. So lots of brothels, lots of prostitutes hanging out.
Perfect.
Two French-Canadian brothers, Joseph and Arthur Nadeau, would eventually acquire the most property in the Butte's prostitution areas or red light district. The brothers built a brothel in 1890 on 45 East Mercury Street and named it for Delia Nadeau ni Dumas.
Oh, look at your French.
Yeah, that's why I'm assuming it's Dumas because they were French traders.
He's so fancy.
And there's other famous people with that same last name who pronounce it that way. So they named it after his wife, which is like super like slimy, I feel like.
That's gross.
It's super gross.
How would you like to be named after a brothel?
No thank
like,
you.
Oh, honey, I love you so much. Can I name my brothel after you?
All the men who have sex will think about you when they go there.
Perfect.
Oh, great.
That's great.
So, by the turn of the century, there were 3 high-class sex houses in Butte. the Hotel Victoria, the Windsor Hotel, and the Dumas Brothel, which was also called the Dumas Hotel. So either name.
Perfect.
The Dumas Brothel Museum, as it stands today, is a 2-story brick building at the north side of East Mercury Street. It also includes a basement level containing clandestine tunnels.
Ooh.
There's a single-story addition that was added to the rear of the main structure in 1912, and this leads directly onto the infamous brick-lined Venus Alley, which was the hub of the red light district. So I'm assuming that's after the goddess Venus. The original structure features original vaulted skylights, the upper levels surrounded by an interior balcony, which still provides a bird's eye view for onlookers to glimpse the suites or cribs below.
Dude.
Yeah, we talked about...
Watch people have sex?
Isn't that disgusting?
That's so gross.
Does that, cost money? I'd assume you, pay a slightly smaller fee to just, watch other people do it.
I would assume so.
I also hate that they're called cribs. We talked about this with the Red Onion Saloon, too. I'm like, why is it a crib? It's just gross.
Ugh.
Yeah, so... I don't know. It's gross. But what's super interesting is the basement was built primarily to connect the Dumas Brothel to the business corridor via a tunnel system.
Oh. So all them dudes, wealthy men can go down in a tunnel to access the brothel without being seen on the streets.
Exactly. Their wives and neighbors don't have to know. They're, sneaking off to the brothel.
That's fucking
Isn't
disgusting.
That creepy? And
gross.
Just, ew. I don't know.
God.
So let's talk about some history.
Oh, good.
So there's actually not a lot of details known about the early history of the brothel. However, 2 early boarders of the house listed their occupations as gambler and saloon man in census records.
Oh.
What do you think a saloon man is?
I don't know, like a security guard maybe?
A bouncer?
Yeah.
For the saloon?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I believe it. By 1900, the brothel was occupied by Madame Grace McGinnis, her servant, a Chinese cook, and 4 prostitutes. The cost of sex in the brothel at the turn of the 20th century was 50 cents.
Oh, that's some cheap sex.
50 cents. And the working girls only got about 40%.
Oh.
So
that's
they're making
bad.
20 cents.
Cool.
It's awesome. Despite the size of the brothel, by 1902, Madame McGinnis had only 5 working girls and a single musician in her employment. You play sexy music in the background.
Sexy music.
All right. Where am I?
I don't know.
Okay. In 1903, the Dumas and businesses like it in Butte's red light district were unusually lucrative. Really unusually.
Were they?
I mean, I feel like it sort of makes sense. These businesses were frequented by miners from the local Anaconda Copper Mining Company. And I just think it's so fitting that their name was the Anaconda Copper Mine Company because it just makes me think of, I like big butts and I cannot lie. Anaconda.
My anaconda don't want none unless you got buns, hon.
All right, so that year, traffic grew to a point where the Dumas operations had to be expanded, building cribs, which they describe in this article as tiny cubicles where the girls worked. I'm like, that's disgusting.
That's a really small space, huh?
Yeah, it's very small. Not like full bedrooms, I guess. Literal, sex cubicles.
Sex cubicles.
That might have to be the name of the episode.
Yes.
In the basement, how nice. There were several ways potential clients could access the brothel. So, back door of the Dumas opened into Pleasant Alley near South Wyoming Street. God, words. South. Which was the busiest section of the red light area. And then, like I said, there was also the basement cribs who had that shady underground tunnel thing. So even though the Dumas operated 24 hours a day with several girls taking 3 shifts at a time, by 1910 there were only 2 women reported to be actually living there. Instead, the prostitutes lived in other parts of Pleasant Alley and commuted to the brothel. In Butte, the activities of the city's prostitutes were generally restricted to Galena and Mercury Street. From the windows of their street-facing cribs, the girls would attract prospective clients while being in varying states of undress.
Oh. Showing my boobs.
They're literally flashing people from the windows because that street was entirely brothels and it was the only place in the city where they worked.
Yeah,
so they were just
so they have a lot of competition.
Well, yeah, and why not flash yourself from the window to the onlookers on the street because that's just the whole street is a freaking brothel alley.
Yeah.
So I'm just
Come
trying to
see me.
picture that in my head, being like, oh my God, just women flashing you from the windows.
Nude women all day.
I'm sure the guys loved it.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
The Dumas business and those like it were criticized by a number of people who sought to reform the red light district, of course. There's always a party pooper.
Of course.
This particular party pooper's name was Reverend William Beaterwolf, who condemned Butte as, quote, the lowest sinkhole of vice in the West.
Oh, my goodness.
In the whole of the West.
That's aggressive.
And he saw, quote, enough legitimate vice in Butte to damn the souls of every young man and young woman in it. Except for him, of course.
Of course.
But everyone else. However, the local business actually benefited and even depended on the support of the sex workers at the Dumas and other establishments. The prostitutes would buy their dresses at local clothing stores, frequent the dry cleaners, and would patronize Chinese herbalists looking for birth control potions and venereal disease remedies.
Oh, they're helping
There
out
it
them.
is.
Their crotch
Get rid of the
diseases.
fire crotch. So it's actually interesting to think about them like helping the local economy.
Yeah.
And the city actually depended on it, which I just think is like a lens that people
really
don't think about
strange.
very often.
Right.
To ensure that the operations were unhampered, the girls at the Dumas would pay the city's police and governance $5 fines, quote, fines, basically bribing them to let them do their business.
Oh.
Instead of closing or relocating the red light district, the mayor and the police ordered that the women wear longer skirts and high-necked blouses and that they, quote, refrain from any indecent exposure. So that was like the happy medium they came to instead of literally getting kicked out of the city. After these ordinances were put in place, the Butte Miner, I think which was a magazine or newspaper, reported that, quote, nothing was seen in the district except long dresses and long faces.
Oh,
Everyone was so sad they put their boobs away. So sad.
Like, how can you be sad when you have just a fucking street of brothels?
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, because they had to put their clothes on, and how sad is
man,
that?
Just go pay for sex, and then you don't have to see them with their clothes on.
I mean, yeah, but they were used to getting freebie flashings.
Such a rough life.
How hard.
Gosh.
Stumble drunk out of the casino and be like, oh, what's up?
Aw, sex.
Sex. By 1910, the people were petitioning Mayor Charles Nevin to shut down the district, with the district contributing $2,000 to the city's coffers every month. So the efforts eventually died. It was just too profitable. It's just really interesting. So.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. In 1913, the brothel was expanded again. They added a one-story structure, increasing the number of cribs by 8, 4 of which opened directly onto Pleasant Alley, which was by that time known as Venus Alley, like I said. When copper prices went up, the more than 14,000 miners in the city experienced a pay raise of 25 cents and injected an additional $6,000 into Butte's economy. So, of course, the Dumas also got to enjoy an upswing in patronage.
Oh, perfect.
And as a result of the added patronage, the brothel added 5 partitions and a staircase in 1916, and the ground floor was partitioned off into cribs instead of being like a big grand parlor area.
Okay.
Literally just sex cubes everywhere.
Just sex cubes.
Okay, so when World War I rolled around, the Prohibition movement also happened, and basically everyone was like, we need to get this shit under control. So by 1917, the district itself, the red light district, was effectively closed in the city of Butte. There were signs saying men under 21, keep out. And those were common, and in the next census, prostitution had been completely wiped out as a declared profession in Butte. So no one advertised that in their employment records anymore.
You can't be named a prostitute anymore.
You don't put that on your resume. We'll just say it that way.
Could you imagine that on a resume? Prostitution.
10 years.
Sex with everybody.
High client satisfaction. Excellent.
Ridiculous.
What's great, though, is, of course, like you sort of alluded to, is the Dumas remained open. I don't know really how they made it work, but they were just like, yeah, we're not closing. We're just gonna stay open.
How?
So, yeah, I don't really know. They just, stayed in operation somehow. I don't know if they bribed the, city lawmakers or police enough, because they had already done that before. So I'm not really sure. In 1925, Anne Valet began overseeing the Dumas for the Nadeau family, and in the 1930s, operations had passed to Madame Rose Davis. In 1940, Lillian Walden and her husband, Dick.
How fitting. That is perfect.
Oh, really? Oh, your name is Dick. Oh, no, your name's Richard, but you go by Dick? Weird.
And you own a brothel.
They began running the brothel, and then they raised the price of sex to $2.
Whoa, baby.
$2 whole.
Expensive sex.
Super expensive.
Coming your way.
3 years later, the U.S. government ordered all brothels to shut down to prevent the spread of venereal diseases among World War II soldiers. In response, the Dumas began operating even more furtively, now under the guise of being a boarding house. So I don't know how they did it at first, but they basically were like,
house.
oh, people just live here. It's fine.
Yeah.
The, quote, window shopping, a.k.a. women flashing from the windows, was abandoned completely, and a heavy steel door was installed at the back with a small sliding window. So customers would basically go up to the door. They would only gain entrance after the sliding window was opened and their identity was confirmed. And then they also added doorbells and a code system for dealing with troublesome guests. So they got real sophisticated with their operation to, like, stay in business and not get caught. And
that's pretty intense.
You kind of had
to go
like
those measures to keep it going.
Yeah, they had like a little like metal door with like a little sliding panel thing. Like, what's the password?
Makes you think of like a speakeasy.
Exactly.
But for sex,
they were serious about their business. So then when Lillian Walden retired in 1950, the price for service at the brothel had gone up to $5.
Whoa.
Super expensive.
Such expensive.
$5 in the 1950s.
That's ridiculous.
Like, I know
I feel
stuff
like
was
it
cheap.
should have been like 20 or something.
I mean, like, I know in the 1950s things were still really inexpensive, but oh my God, $5 is just crazy.
Yeah.
Afterwards, the Dumas operations moved to Eleanor Knott. The Nadeaus, who were some of the original owners, also ceased being owners of the brothel around this time. So I think they were like officially owners, but other people were like managing it for the day-to-day operations. So they officially relinquished their ownership in the 50s. So then after Knott took over, she really only managed the Dumas for a couple of years because in 1955 she committed suicide after her lover died of a heart attack.
Oh, no.
Yeah. When the late 1960s came about, several local police officers were taking the initiative to close the high-class sex houses. So I guess the Hotel Victoria and Windsor Hotel were also still sort of doing this like on the side and trying to be sneaky about it. So they tried to close the Dumas as well, but the Dumas did not remain closed for long, with its next Madame, Bonita Farron, reopened it and operated it from 1955 until her death from cancer in 1969. In 1970, the Dumas was listed in the good old NRHP.
Perfect.
So there it is. I wonder if there's a connection.
Weird.
So it's listed because it's a historically like significant, quote, Victorian brothel. And at the time, it was still an active house of prostitution. I just don't understand.
That's so weird. They just kept going.
1970s, like our parents were like graduating from high school.
Yeah.
Well, mine were. I don't know how yours were younger. But, like, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
That's crazy. So then by the following year, Ruby Garrett, a local resident of Butte for almost 30 years, had purchased the Dumas. Garrett would pay the local police officers and officials $200 to $300 a month in return for their silence.
Oh,
so literally
there it is.
That has to be how they did it. They just bribed people.
Oh, yeah. That's the only way to do it.
And then under Garrett, the cost of a prostitute was $20.
Okay.
So we're finally scaling up a little bit.
We're
but
getting
it's
there.
still only $20 in the 70s.
Right.
She would then come upon financial difficulties, however, being charged with tax evasion in 1981. The Dumas brothel was closed the following year, and when it closed, it was the longest operating brothel in the United States, having operated for 92 years, long after prostitution was outlawed.
That's pretty impressive.
It just kept going.
I just don't get it.
I know. It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Ruby Garrett, of course, who was the last madame, sold it to an antique dealer named Rudy Giesek, with a C, on the condition that it was preserved in its original state. So Giesek turned the brothel into a museum and operated it as such for most of the 90s. However, in 98, Giesek encountered financial difficulties and attempted to sell the building. The International Sex Worker Foundation for Art, Culture, and Education,
Oh.
That acronym is literally ISWFACE.
ISWFACE. I like that.
ISWFACE.
That's perfect.
ISWFACE. So the ISWFACE responded, and they sought to reopen the Dumas as not only a museum, but also a gallery and convention center. So they're like, this is historically significant.
Oh.
This is a huge piece of history and like sex workers, and we should reopen it. So some were against the restoration, including some of the former prostitutes who still just like lived in town.
That's so weird.
How...
Like, what did you do after it closed?
Can you imagine, like, I've been a prostitute here for 25 years, and then you, like...
And now I'm not.
And now I work at the bar, like, and everyone knows that I'm a prostitute because I've had sex with them. Like, it's just, like...
That'd be really strange.
I would, like, move out of town and like, go somewhere else. I don't know. Okay, so some were against the Reformation, but the operation proceeded at least until September 2000 when Gicek claimed that the ISWFACE owed him $52,000 in wages for the work performed at the Dumas.
Oh.
So he ended up suing them, was granted the wages, but then the business deal was terminated. So basically, like, he couldn't afford to finish it, and then it was put up for auction twice. So then in late May 2005, the Gicek, who still owned it at the time, was escorted to a New York Times reporter through the Dumas for an interview when he discovered the place had been broken into. So I only kept this in here. I only kept this in here because I thought it was really interesting that after the robbery, he discovered that dismantled beds, stolen antique lamps and artwork, and empty glass cases full of brothel artifacts were missing, as well as, quote, rare sex toys.
Oh.
And I just want to know what the hell constitutes a rare sex toy.
What were they using?
Some, like, archaic piece of, like, weird sex machinery from, like, 1908 or something ridiculous. I'm like, what would that be?
Please show me pictures of what this is.
And whoever stole it, like...
What are you doing?
What are you going to do with it? Like, hopefully sell it for a lot of money, but then
Right?
whoever buys it, what are you going to do with it? I don't... It's just...
Maybe there's a little market for these sex toys.
I guess, I mean, they're like pieces of history, but I just thought that was interesting. He was like taking a reporter there to like get interviewed and was like, oh, someone stole all my sex artifacts.
Toys.
That's cool. So then in June of 2012, the Dumas was conveyed to new owners, locals Michael Peisch and Travis Eskelson. By this time, the building was in great disrepair, so there was water damage, collapsed walls, and not a structurally sound roof. So the new owners basically had to like renovate it, and they had planned to do summer tours for $8 the following year. But basically, the ultimate goal was to actually turn it into a bed and breakfast.
Oh.
So they said, in quotes, it needs to be around, it needs to be here for the rest of the community and the people who want to visit it. In late 2013, the duo sought a loan from the local urban revitalization body in Butte. They got some money, they did some renovations, and as of 2013, tours were still being offered on a limited basis.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
That'd be neat.
That's the latest I found. I'm not sure what it's up to today, but yeah.
Well, we're going to be going to Montana, so maybe we can take a little quick stop in Butte.
Maybe it's a B&B.
In
You
this
can
little
stay in a former sex
brothel.
crib and have breakfast.
Sounds perfect.
Yay.
Gosh. So, of course, this place is haunted.
Of course it is.
So my sources are hauntedhouses.com, westsoundparanormal.com, anomalian.com.
Okay.
Just gonna go with that. And southwest.com. So some general activity. Owner Jason Gicek has said to have seen smoky mists and heard disembodied voices on the first floor areas. Mm-hmm. On a tour of the hotel, a latched door unlatched itself in front of the group.
What? No, thank you.
Just
like flips open.
coming out.
Like what? Like what?
I'm here.
Is that the sound it makes when it unlocks?
Yeah,
Cool.
that's exactly it.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, people have experienced the strong aroma of cigar smoke, especially on their first floor. People feeling cold spots and being touched by invisible hands. So all them little brothel ladies are like, hey,
Tickle, tickle.
Come to me.
Come hither.
Disembodied voices moaning and groaning, and sounds that would be expected at a brothel.
Okay, so
have
like
been heard.
like sexy moaning and groaning.
Like sexy moaning and groaning, not like angry moaning.
Tortured souls of like the hell moaning, but like
they're like happy.
Oh.
going.
That would be super disturbing.
That'd be quite gross.
I almost expect the like creepy, like anguished moan, but like
Right.
a like pleasurable
But, like,
moan.
no.
Like why?
Them ghosts are still having sex in the afterlife.
I don't like what you guys are doing beyond the veil.
They're just going for it. So there is one story where the remains of a blood-stained handprint can be seen on an inner wall of a crib room.
What?
I don't know what happened in this crib room, if someone got murdered, if someone got beaten,
Weird.
a robbery. So we got some blood-stained handprints.
We had that in one hotel, like in the penthouse somewhere, where there was like a rumor that the person went to go, like the cleaning staff went to go wash it off, and it like wouldn't come off. I forget where that was.
Yep.
But interesting bloody handprint, huh?
So in this crib, it had a badly damaged door, which suggested a violent entrance was made by someone. And this was discovered when the basement crib rooms were unsealed. So because, obviously, this place was a brothel, and the prostitutes endured a lot, many of them, unfortunately, ended up killing themselves.
Really?
If they hadn't found a husband by 30, or if their husband chickened out or died before getting married.
Or they didn't want your venereal disease.
Yep.
Oh.
And some may have accidentally killed themselves trying to medicate their emotional pain away.
Oh, no.
Right?
That's so sad.
It is. So, the main ghost that haunts the brothel is the entity of Madame Eleanor Knott. Eleanor, like Annie had talked about, was the madame at the brothel and was very successful and made lots of money during her time. But in 1955, she decided she needed a change. She decided she wanted to run away with her lover, who was married, to start a new life. She packed her bags and was patiently waiting with her suitcase in hand, but her lover never showed up. In the morning, Eleanor was found in room 20, dead of an overdose of sleeping pills and alcohol.
Interesting. So that's like more detail than I saw on that story from the Wikipedia page, which I think it said he died from a heart attack.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, because in the Wikipedia article it said her lover died of a heart attack.
Oh,
sad.
It's like a Romeo and Juliet situation.
Yeah. Or maybe like he didn't show up because he died and she didn't know,
Right.
so she assumed he abandoned her.
Yeah.
And then like, oh my God, sad.
Yeah. So
Horrible.
she killed herself. So right after she died was when people started seeing her ghost. The prostitutes and staff of the brothel saw her apparition walking the hallways carrying her suitcase.
Oh, she's still getting ready to go on her little runaway trip.
Uh-huh. Many clear pictures of her apparition have been taken over the years, and in 1970, there was an employee who was at the building alone one night and saw a woman carrying a suitcase walk past the door of the upstairs bathroom and descend the stairs. After further inspection, there was no one in the building, and no one would have been able to make an exit in such a short time.
Yeah. And why would they be walking around with a suitcase in the middle of the night?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. That's so sad.
I know. So then, when Ruby and Jason Giechek were the owners, 3 young kids broke into the brothel. They ended up grabbing stuff from the antique and photo shop. In one of the first parlors, when they started going up to the second floor, they were stopped in their tracks by flying china dishes. This obviously terrified them, and they ran away.
Well, shit. Wikipedia, you like conveniently left out some interesting details of that story.
I would run away too if flying china dishes were coming at my head.
I would think so.
So,
just a thought, but...
And then we have some male entities in the basement. There is one entity that is seen wearing a minor outfit, including a bandana. Then near the basement door that led to the tunnels that ran through the red light district, a paranormal investigator caught 2 apparitions, a guy and a girl. The girl either had a big hairstyle or was wearing a hat based on what he saw.
She just had a big old shape on her head.
Fancy something on her head. So several years ago, an artist visited a brothel where she stayed on the second floor apartment because the lighting was ideal for her painting. Each time she sat down to work, she felt compelled to paint the face of a woman she had never met. After multiple canvases had gone in the trash, she gave up, leaving the room to paint elsewhere. The owner of the building rescued one of the portraits of a 40-ish-year-old woman wearing a hat and a coy smile.
Oh, you think a ghost was sort of like imposing its presence in her mind and like having her paint it like subconsciously? Interesting.
Exactly what
like
happened.
Not quite possession, but like influence.
yeah.
Oh, that's so
like energy
interesting.
influenced her paintings.
That's cool.
Yeah. So,
I want a painting of a dead prostitute.
Right?
I will hang it above my bed.
Sweet. Like, give me those paintings you painted, woman.
That's so cool.
I know.
I wouldn't really hang it above my bed, but I'm just fascinated by the idea.
So that's the brothel in Montana there.
There it is. That's the
She's
Dumas.
there.
She's
Dumas.
haunted. She's
she
also on the National Register of Historic Places, so y'all know what that means. Hey, you know what it's time for?
Craft cocktail called.
Here it is.
Here it is. I found my recipe.
Oh, good.
You guys, I couldn't find this beforehand, and I was freaking out. I'm like, I'm just gonna kind of hope I
wing it.
Do it right.
Anna was panicking so hard.
And then I found it. So, friends.
And we tried this a couple weeks ago. Right?
Yeah.
We had this.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's delicious.
It's super refreshing.
So this is going to be a batch recipe that you're going to make for multiple people. Or
unless
if you want to drink it all yourself, you can.
Isn't it like a whole bottle of wine?
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
So if you want to just have a fun night to yourself.
You know what? Or like start at 11 a.m. with brunch and then just like have it carry you throughout the day.
Just keep going.
Just keep going.
Like what Ben and I did one day. We were cooking a brisket.
And you just started
We started drinking at 11 and just went on all the way till 11 at night.
Uh-huh.
Kept a nice steady buzz the whole day and it was
6 p.m.
perfect.
Anna texted me and was like, hey, I can't go to wherever we're supposed to go tonight. We're kind of wasted. I was like, okay.
We've been drinking since 11,
I don't think we should be driving.
I'm not in good spirits right now to drive.
So funny.
All right. It is a strawberry lemonade sangria.
Oh my god, it's so good, you guys. Perfect summer drink.
Oh, it's so perfect. You can have this recipe. We did the full recipe because we went strawberry picking and I got 8 pounds of strawberries and I needed to use my strawberries. Mm-hmm. So, you need 2 pounds of strawberries washed, hulled, and cut in half. Hulled means taking out the little green part and the little center bit that it attaches to. Mm-hmm. Half a cup of sugar, 3 cups of water divided, 4 lemons halved and peeled, 2 tablespoons of lemon zest, and 4 cups of white wine.
Yeah, that's like a full bottle, basically.
If you want to. Yes. So, what you are going to do is you're going to combine the strawberries, sugar, and 1.5 cups of water in your blender and process until blended. You can strain your strawberries if you have a large mesh strainer. I attempted this with our tiny-ass little baby strainer we have, and the strawberries were taking me forever and a day. I'm like, fuck this. I'm just pouring this into my pitcher. I'm not straining it.
It tasted fine. It's an optional step.
Yes. And then, so you'll put that into a pitcher, and then in your blender, you'll add your lemons, lemon zest, and the remaining water to the blender and process until blended. This one I did strain just because I didn't want all the pulp and the lemon zest and shit in it. And then you'll pour that into your pitcher. And then you will add your wine, stir, pour into a nice little coupe glass, a martini glass, a tall ball.
A tall ball?
Tall ball. I don't think that's highball.
A highball.
There we go.
Or a tall ball. A tall ball makes more sense to me.
Or low ball, whatever glass suits your needs.
A sippy cup.
A sippy cup if you want to be fancy.
A little swirly straw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get fucking fancy as shit. So there it is.
That is your lemon something sangria?
Strawberry lemonade sangria.
Yeah, super refreshing.
Super fancy.
If you try this drink, let us know what you think.
Yeah.
We want to hear from you.
Tag us in the social media or check us out or interact with us. We got the Instagram nightmare.nation19 or the Facebook nightmare_nation19.
Also, if you have ever been to anywhere we've talked about on the podcast, if you've ever experienced anything paranormal or hard to explain or scary in any way that you want to tell us about, we live for those kinds of stories.
Yes!
We also want to hear suggestions of places you'd like to hear us talk about. If there's places you know about that we haven't discovered yet, we want to hear it. So send in an email to nightmarenation19@gmail.com.
Hell yeah. Do that shit.
But you
all
know
the
what?
above.
You know what you shouldn't do?
What shouldn't we do?
You really shouldn't have a seance.
Why not?
Because you will summon demons into your life, and life
What
is just...
if I want to?
I mean, then good for you, but...
I don't want to,
There's
though,
a high chance that your demon might also, like, latch onto people around you, like myself, and I'm not interested in that.
I'm not either, so I'm not going to.
Yeah, think about others first before you summon demons into your life.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Don't be stupid.
So, just don't use Ouija boards.
Just don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
It's not worth it.
It really isn't.
All right.
Be safe, friends.
Until next time.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.